John, you shared a lot of like pretty incredible stuff, but let's get down to the brass tacks. Red deck or blue deck?
Blue decks. I just like blue. Yeah. I just have these in front of me right now. I have a Monarch blue and a Phoenix blue. Yeah. I answered visually. I didn't even know. But uh yeah, I like blue. Number one, I like blue. But I also I'll do a few tricks that have a stranger card, for example. Like truth in advertising or another trick I have called virus. And I think when that pops, a red back as a stranger card pops better and allows you to write a message on it as opposed to a blue stranger in the red deck. So there's a very practical reason why I like that as well. Yeah. Let me see. Well, let's do one with now. What the heck? So um, just to refresh your memory. So okay, cool. So I work I work in marketing, advertising, and philanthropy, all the whole deal. And then so I'll teach you like three ways you can not get sucked into these advertising scams. Because let's face it, we've probably all been um something on the infomercial at a moment of weakness, right? So the first rule is make sure you have a free choice of whatever you purchase, or in this case, a card you choose. So I know you're there, but just say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
And that is a free choice. It doesn't matter. The spectator would choose that. Okay. That's rule number one. You choose a free card. Make a free choice. The second is don't judge a product by its packaging. Everything you assume this deck was normal, but I just only showed you the blue backs. I never showed you the face of it. So it really didn't matter what card you would choose because this is like a deck of empty promises. It didn't matter which one card you chose. Actually, you did choose the only card I wanted you to choose, the Ace of Spades, the only printed card in the pack. Which brings us to rule number three, and that's to watch out for subliminal advertising. Those are those messages that happen. We don't realize we see it. Like when I said say stop, you didn't realize there was a very subtle, just a subtle subliminal message saying, pick me, pick me. Now that you know to look for it, it stands like a sore thumb, but you guys didn't even notice it before because it was so subtle, right? So how else am I going to get you to pick the only printed card of the pack, the Ace of Spades? It's the only card printing on it. The fourth unwritten rule is don't believe anything from a guy like me because I'm a magician and everything's been an illusion because you didn't just pick the only printed card in a blank deck, you picked the only blank card in a completely printed deck. There you
Dude,
go.
that's so sick.
Anyway, so that's the first book in one degree, but it's anyway, but you could see how from a very practical sense that pops in a blue deck. So yeah,
Dude,
but anyway, a few things I just want to highlight, and I didn't even know I was going to do that today. I just love the trick. Number one, it has an international hook. Everybody's connected to advertising, and sometimes I'll add more presentation. Like, did you know we're exposed to like 15,000 advertising messages every day, which is nuts, right? All around us, right? So we talked about in the beginning of the talk today about hook, a musical hook or a magical hook. It's a relatable hook. We're all exposed to advertising. Um, Secondly, a presentation could kind of follow along, a lot of magic along the way. From a very practical standpoint, I have added just one card to this trick that does all the work. It's a completely normal deck, and I have one card that does all the work, and it becomes part of the presentation. I naturally take it out the end, I show it, and it's not like I have to ditch it or anything. It's an inherent part of the presentation, and I'm completely free to continue with my act after that. So I think from a presentation, hook, magic, and structure standpoint, it hits a lot of the marks for me. And by the way, that was the 1 degree change. It used to be on my second storm DVDs, I had a blue deck with just a red card, and it was all a trick about optical illusions, where you think it's one way and it's the opposite way. And the 1 degree thing was just writing "pick me" on a red card. So it's not just a red card for red card's sake. It's now a card of meaning, and the
yeah.
meaning becomes the the presentation look in advertising, right? So anyway, a little bit of lessons tied in with a little context of a magic trick for you.
So good, dude.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah,
To me, that's one of those like magic tricks that doesn't feel like a trick.
it's not a
It's
trick,
like
right? At the end of
I
the
love
day,
that so
I
much.
do mostly card magic, but I don't. A lot of it doesn't feel like card magic. Just like feels like an experience, right? Yeah. So I'm glad you saw that. I'm glad you saw that. And I want to highlight one other point about music and magic that I just noticed because you often see musicians are often doing three or four things at the same time. They're playing a chord, they're singing in a microphone, they're sort of expression, they're connecting with the audience, and that's where mastery truly comes from. And magic, the same thing, right? You didn't see my face in there, but if I in a real audience, I'm doing all this stuff, trying to make it look elegant with a light touch, and but also carrying on the presentation in a very authentic way, and like that's hard to do. Like I think that's the part you can't teach in books too. You can read the instructions, you can learn the mechanics, but being able to do those at a level of um like you don't even realize you're doing it, like that's true mastery. There's this thing that it's called, I'm gonna probably screw this up right now, like the ladder, like the ladder of mastery. But there's these things. There's we know we know we don't know what we know we don't know. Have you heard of this thing before? So yeah, so it says there's four different things you could oh God, I'm gonna forget all of this stuff, but you could I don't know what I know. Like I have to learn. I just don't know anything about this. And then like I know what I know. I've done a lot of studying. I know these facts to be true. And but the one that's interesting is I don't know what I know. Like, what is that? What does that look like? That's the example is as if you're typing or you're driving. There's things that you're like almost subconsciously doing. You're on autopilot. You're typing, and you're not saying I'm typing the letter R, typing the letter S. It's like I don't know even the things I know that I'm doing right now. So that's the level of mastery where you're like, it's like you're not thinking to yourself, I'm consciously doing a double lift now, or this. You're doing it as in you're focusing on other things. Because when you get to that level of fluid mastery with the handling, then you could focus on the audience, which to me, that's like the most critical part, honestly. So